up on Fulton today, voters make their choices in the November general elections. We'll have a report. And county health and public safety officials address Ebola preparedness procedures. Fulton Today is next.
From the Government Center in downtown Atlanta, you're watching Fulton Today with Shania Chavis.
Welcome to Fulton Today, everybody. I'm Shania Chavis. The 2014 general election is wrapping up after a very busy election season and year. FGTV's Priscilla Ortega is in our news center with this story. Priscilla?
Shania, it's been busy indeed. This election season started at the beginning of the year, and the primary election was back in May. Now it's the general election. Early voting was a success in Fulton County, and election officials attribute some of that success to the addition of weekend voting and additional early voting polling sites. Voters all over the county cast ballots on Saturday, and for the first time on Sunday as well. Fulton had 19 early voting location options for residents. Another first this election season was the Post the Peach campaign. Voters are using social media to post photos of their I voted Georgia Peach sticker once they've cast their ballots. Election officials want voters to let them know if they experienced any issues during the voting process. The Board of Registration and Elections meets this weekend to certify the votes. Elections for any state or local race that require a runoff will be on December 2nd. Because of the redrawn district lines in the county, voters will elect new commissioners. To view all of the Fulton County election results, you can go to fultonelections.com. Reporting in the News Center, I'm Priscilla Ortega for FGTV.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. Recent cases of Ebola all around the country has county health professionals on alert. FGTV's Lynn Vaughn takes a look at the training and the preparations that the county is undertaking.
Fulton County Medical Director Dr. Matthew McKenna kicked off the exercise, which brought together over 100 representatives from metro law enforcement, schools and universities, public health and hospitals, including Grady and Emory. The head of Emory's Office of Critical Event Preparedness and Response shared how they've successfully treated the 4 caregiver patients with Ebola virus disease who were brought there. The exercise was sponsored by Fulton Health and Wellness and the Atlanta Fulton Emergency Management Agency to coordinate protocols among the various agencies.
It's incredible we had this great of a turnout. People are trying to scramble to get prepared for other things that are coming right around the pipe. But people feel that this is important, and that's what's really great. And just working with our partners in public health. Now is the time to make sure that we can show all the planning we've done in the past and how we can put it to the practice at this particular point.
Also there, the medical examiner's office, 911 and ambulance services, Atlanta watershed, and fire officials from all around the county. All applauded the move to, as they put it, get everyone on the same page.
What's great about this is we get to see what our partners are doing and to make sure that what we're doing is in line with what they're doing, and we can share our experiences as well as what we've learned, and to make sure that we're all on the same page doing the same thing. And that's important for first responders because we all rely on each other.
At Hartsfield-Jackson, the fire department there, Atlanta Fire Rescue Department, our medical team respond on numerous medical calls, so we are highly trained for any type of infection disease come by. And what this Ebola have done is heighten our sense of awareness, heighten our sense of preparedness, and have allowed us to increase our training to make sure that we are prepared. And we are prepared. I feel very confident that the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department, matter of fact, I feel very confident in our other stakeholders, other fire department, that they are prepared too.
Officials stressed that point, that should anyone contract EVD here, they know what to do. Our health professionals say each of us needs to have a healthy respect for the Ebola virus, but that there's no reason for fear or panic. Appropriate and effective protocols are in place, they're being followed, and they're working. At the Georgia International Congress Center in College Park, I'm Lynn Vaughn, FGTV.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Meanwhile, the county's first responders also learned the importance of protecting themselves from infectious diseases like Ebola. Firefighters take part in a 4-hour training session on protective gear. Based on Ebola guidelines from the Centers for Disease Control, there should be no skin exposure.
This suit is a splash protective suit.
The first responders were shown how to put on protective gear like suits, gloves, and safety goggles, and how to properly dispose of the gear. Citizens can get updated alerts and Ebola safety guidelines on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website. Prosecutors from across the country work to combat gun violence. The Fulton County District Attorney recently met with his colleagues from all across the country to try to plot out their strategy. FGTV's Felicia Church has our story.
We've all heard the stories and statistics, the mass shootings at Sandy Hook and Columbine High School, and the reports of shootings each day in neighborhoods right here in the county. Reports and statistics have prosecutors looking for solutions. District Attorney Paul Howard hosted the first meeting of Prosecutors Against Gun Violence Summit.
And one of the things that we certainly are going to talk about is working with our bench to see whether or not we can improve the sentencing process that goes on in our community. The data clearly shows that when there is some consequence with respect to carrying illegal weapons, then you can find reductions.
The group is co-chaired by Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. and Los Angeles City Attorney Mike Fewer.
Gun violence is not a political issue for us, but for our constituents it is a question of public safety.
And so what you see today is an effort to focus on how we can, in the first place, prevent gun violence, how we grapple with the best strategies to enforce rules when gun violence is committed, and finally, to pursue a set of policy objectives around which we can gather that will help make a difference not only in Washington, but in state houses and local jurisdictions throughout the country.
Nearly 24 prosecutors attended the inaugural session. However, they were not all prosecutors. Some were gun control advocates, like former astronaut Mark Kelly. He's the husband of former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, shot in a 2011 attack that killed 6 people.
With gun violence, if we can keep guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them, convicted felons, domestic abusers, the dangerously mentally ill, we will have less gun crime.
In addition to sentencing, some of the other issues discussed included gun possession laws, gang violence, domestic violence, mental health, and gun trafficking.
Well, one of the things that we talked about this morning in some of the northeastern cities, particularly New York, we know that many of the guns used in crimes in New York, crimes that even involved the death of police officers, those guns were purchased here in Georgia. Some of those guns in Fulton County. So we're going to be working with New York prosecutors, particularly Cyrus Vance from Manhattan, to see whether or not we can work together to stop this pipeline of gun trafficking.
District Attorney Paul Howard and his colleagues held a policy-making session at the end of their first meeting and talked about their next step, which is first and foremost public safety. Reporting for FGTV, I'm Felicia Church.
Thank you, Felicia. Fulton County Animal Services gets a little help from Hollywood during National Adopt a Shelter Dog Month. The Mutt Cuts van from the movie Dumb and Dumber 2 made a stop at the Northwest Atlanta facility last month in support of animal adoptions.
Every year across the United States, thousands of animals are euthanized unnecessarily, and they're very adoptable, loving pets that you would have in your home. They just need to have a chance at a home.
Decorated to look like an oversized dog, the van was a big hit in the 1994 classic. The sequel to the movie was filmed in the Atlanta metro area. It hits theaters next week. Fulton County Animal Service has many happy and healthy pets ready for you to take home. All of them are fully vaccinated, spayed or neutered, and microchipped. You can stop by the shelter or check them out online. The location and website are listed right there on the screen. And still to come, county citizens weigh in on the 2015 county budget. We'll have that story in our district by district coverage next.
watching Fulton Today.
Crime and safety issues are addressed in North Fulton, and Dr. Jill Biden makes a stop in the county for Hands-On Atlanta Day. Here's this week's District by District coverage. We begin with District 1 and the chairman's 5th Crime and Safety Summit. North Fulton residents came out to Northview High School to hear from a panel of experts on issues of concern. Like in the last summit, the issue of substance abuse again came up. Parents wanted to know what can be done to address the influx of heroin in North Fulton, given the increase of cases involving drug overdoses. A number of Fulton County officials were on the panel.
The sincerity, the frustration, the concern, the love, they have tremendously resonated with all of us and have resonated with me. And we're going to keep on pushing and pushing. And I heard one of the speakers who came forward and shared your story in terms of how many people are ashamed. So I want to thank you for not being afraid.
To me, the importance of these summits is every parent thinks it's not going to be their kid. And unfortunately, by the time parents catch their kid the first time, they've usually been using drugs and alcohol for an extended period of time.
The Crime and Safety Summits were birthed out of Fulton's Smart Justice Council. The chairman heads the group, whose mission is to identify policies and practices to resolve the high rate of incarceration and recidivism in the county. In District 3, North Fulton residents come out to address the county's 2015 financial plan. Commissioner Liz Hausman hosted the district's budget hearing at the Johns Creek Environmental Campus. While residents wanted to express what services are important to them for next year, some wanted to express concern about their taxes.
For us, it's Health and Human Service Grant. As an agency, North Fulton Community Charities, we believe in the prevention of homelessness and hunger. And so the donations and the dollars that we receive in Fulton County helps with our programs.
Well, this is the opportunity for the public to hear where we are with our budget projections in the area that they live. It's difficult for a lot of folks to get downtown from North Fulton. As you know, we're a very large county. So the county came to them and explained to us our financial picture at the moment.
Meanwhile, District 4 residents also get a chance to express their desires for the 2015 budget. This public hearing was held at the Dorothy C. Benson Senior Facility in Sandy Springs. Senior programs, of course, were of big concern to this group for the new year.
We appreciate the funding that the council has done for the Benson Center. We hope that it continues. We would like to see the funding expanded because we have several programs we would like to add that we right now don't have the facilities for.
We made some real serious and deep cuts last year, and I think that our budget is still suffering from that as far as human services go and social services. And I really think that this is a year to kind of keep things at status quo.
District 5 residents had 2 chances in one day to give their input on the budget for next year. Vice Chair Emma I. Darnell hosted her budget hearings at the Harriet G. Darnell Senior Facility. The group made clear to the county's top management and finance officials what they hope to see funded for 2015.
What I would like to see funded is definitely any youth group programs, any programs that's going to invest in the lives of young people, especially with juvenile delinquency going on, and programs for recidivism for people coming out of prison.
We are so appreciative of all of the folks who came out this evening, who were unable to come this morning at 10 o'clock. They gave us valuable information about what they consider to be major issues in the community, and it was so interesting to us that children and the future of our children continue to be a top priority in this community.
District 5 residents play an active role in the budget process each year. Many say they plan to attend the final budget hearing in January at the Board of Commissioners meeting. In District 6, the wife of the nation's vice president is all hands on Atlanta. Dr. Jill Biden joined a host of elected officials, including Commissioner Joan Garner, for the Hands on Atlanta Community Service Project in her district. Volunteers put in hard work along the Boulevard corridor to spruce up the community.
You know, we have the cleanup at least a couple of times a year, and it's great to show the commitment to this, not only this neighborhood on Boulevard, but to the whole 4th Ward. So we have active and engaged residents and citizens who take pride in their community.
My hope is that we join forces with neighborhood participants and we demonstrate our shared commitment to making a difference, whether it's creating green spaces like what we're doing here today, or making sure that we're refurbishing and renovating schools for our kids, that we are demonstrating that, again, when we come together, we can tackle tough problems, we can seize opportunities, and we can make anything happen.
Michelle Nunn started the Hands-On Atlanta initiative, and each year, hundreds of volunteers work to beautify various communities. And finally, in District 7, Commissioner William Bill Edwards hosts 3 budget hearings to listen to the ideas from his constituents. The public gathering was held at the South Fulton Service Center. Residents laid out for the commissioner and county staff what services they want to see funded in 2015.
My concern was with the tax increase, and I was so glad that Mr. Edwards explained exactly how it went, that we would still have a shortfall in addition to a tax increase, and I'm glad that was cleared up.
There was not a lot of big concerns as a response to people coming out today. The question was asked about the amphitheater and where was that in the budget, but we didn't have a lot of major concerns tonight. We did explain to them, however, it's important for them to know that this is a preliminary budget.
The Board of Commissioners will listen to the final budget pleas of residents during their January board meeting. And when we come back, the importance of restaurant health inspections. Stay with us.
You're watching Fulton Today.
While Ebola is making international headlines, there is a more common bug that's ready to strike right now. We're talking about the flu. The environmental health staff and the Central Library teamed up to teach kids how to prevent the flu by properly washing their hands.
Washing your hands for 20 seconds, which is very important, at a very warm temperature. The temperature we learned today should be warmer than your body temperature. So that's one thing that's very important that I learned today, as well as the children.
The preschool-age children were reminded to wash their hands after playing outside and touching other children. According to the CDC, during last year's flu season, 108 children died from flu-related symptoms. Flu season typically starts in October. That's when health experts recommend getting a flu shot or the nasal spray. Now this year, there will be a limited supply of flu vaccine at the county's health facilities. You can call their main office to get more details. The Environmental Health Division is also responsible for making sure that restaurants follow the proper health codes. Now, Edna Stigger educates workers in that industry about the regulations. Ma'am, welcome to Fulton Today.
Hello, Shania. Thank you for having me.
Well, first things first, tell me about your division's role in working with these restaurants.
My role is to make sure that the food service facility knows the rules and regulations so that when the inspector returns, they can get a better score.
And what are some of the more common mistakes that these restaurants make?
The common mistake that most restaurants make is not having a manager who is willing to get the training they're supposed to have and then bring this information back to his coworkers, his staff, and see to it that they are familiar with what he just learned. They also need to know that hands need to be washed at least 20 seconds at a minimum, and most food service workers do not know that, and they don't do it. Another mistake they make frequently, not having the food in the refrigerator in there in the correct order, with the ready-to-eat foods on top shelf, then fish, then whole cuts of meats, then ground meats, and on the bottom, poultry. And eggs belong in the category with poultry. So those should also be on the bottom shelf. And quite often they don't think about that as poultry, and it could be any number of places. They lose 9 points for that.
And Edna, we've noticed that some of these restaurant scores have dramatically improved. What do you attribute this to?
The scores have improved because of the excellent inspections that our inspectors are doing now. The environmental specialists are consistently doing an excellent job. They're all standardized. They all are certified. They all know the regulation. They all know what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it. The problem is the food service manager or the workers don't. And the training does help, but I feel like repetition, having this inspection report on every 6-month basis and realizing that there must be no repeat violations. Whatever they missed the first time must be corrected the second time, or instead of 9 points, they'll lose 11 points.
And finally, how can the county help to make sure that some of these companies improve their overall scores?
The restaurant owner or manager can send his coworkers, the staff, to a training that's offered once per month at Fulton County. We call it our DHR Food Code Inspection Report training. And I go over every item on that inspection report with that food service worker. Whoever comes gets trained, and it's free. Once per month it's offered, and occasionally twice per month. Occasionally someone would be willing to pay to have me come out to their restaurant and train the staff there, which I will be glad to do.
Edna Stiga with Environmental Health, always great information. Thank you so much for your time.
Goodbye, and thanks for having me.
Now, for more information on the training with Environmental Health, you can call 404-613-1303. Real-life chickens and a cow help students understand exactly where their food comes from. About 1,300 students attended the second annual Pizza Farm at the Georgia State Farmers Market in Forest Park. The 4th and 5th graders went to different stations where they learned about healthy meals and proper serving sizes. Fulton's Cooperative Extension team participated.
It's important for kids to learn at a young age so they grow up as an adult still eating healthy and picking up a healthy lifestyle, not just dieting, but they're actually learning a healthy lifestyle that they can carry into adulthood.
They also learned about where wheat comes from, how vegetables are grown, how a cow provides dairy products, and even saw a few chickens. They then made their own fruit pizza with healthy ingredients. And still to come, ground is broken on another new library in the county. We'll tell you where when we come back.
You're watching Fulton Today.
Construction can now begin at the site of the library's newest branch. Elected officials and county leadership helped to break ground at the new Metropolitan Library. The 25,000 square foot facility will be completed in the third quarter of 2015. Located at 1332 Metropolitan Parkway, this facility will replace the Stewart Lakewood branch, which is the oldest library in the system.
I am very excited about the groundbreaking of the new Metropolitan Library. I think that this facility will be a beacon of light for this community. I think that it will help to jumpstart and be a catalyst for other development, housing as well as economic development.
It's going to be very state-of-the-art. It's going to welcome you and invite you the moment you walk up to the front of the door and as you go on inside. I think they're going to love the colors and how everything blends together in a very modern yet tranquil and somewhat traditional way as well.
The new library is a part of Phase 1 of the library building program currently underway. Phase 1 includes construction of 8 new libraries. Voters overwhelmingly agreed to build the branch as a part of the library bond referendum back in 2008. And finally, hundreds of children learned safety tips to use while walking to and from school. Safe Kids Fulton County went to Whiteford Elementary to educate kids and promote safe walking techniques.
Make sure you cross in the crosswalk. You look both ways, left, right, left. You walk with an adult if you're under the age of 10. No distracted walking, no playing with your PlayStation, texting, or talking on the phone.
Children were also told to make sure they give the driver eye contact before they cross the street to make sure the driver sees them. The children were given prizes, including Walk This Way t-shirts, which, by the way, was the name of the event.
And I like your.
And before we go, our reminder that we'd like to hear from you about the stories and programs right here on FGTV. Email us at fgtv.feedback@fultoncountyga.gov. You can also follow us on twitter.com/FGTV, find us on Facebook, and watch us on YouTube. Well, that does it for this edition of Fulton Today. I'm Shania Chavis. Thank you for joining us. Join us each week for news around and about Fulton County.